what does it really mean to see, in a world that's just like overflowing with information? Today, we're going to dive deep into 3 stories about how technology is revealing the unseen. We're talking like lost hikers on a mountain to the surprising potential hidden in the sounds all around us.
And what's so fascinating is how these breakthroughs aren't always coming from these, billion-dollar labs and these huge corporations, but from individuals who are driven by passion and a fresh perspective.
It's true. Okay, let's kick things off with a scenario that'll have you like hugging your compass just a little bit tighter. Imagine being lost in the wilderness, the vast wilderness of the Scottish Highlands. Every minute feels crucial. Traditional search methods, they're failing. This is where a homemade tech solution kind of enters the picture, and it's really rewriting the book on mountain rescue.
It really underscores the power of approaching a challenge with fresh eyes. In this case, it took a retired software developer and a young skateboarding mountain rescue volunteer to kind of crack the code.
Wow. Now you'd think drones would be like old news in search and rescue, right?
Yeah.
But this story goes beyond just getting an aerial view. This is about reimagining how we analyze what those drones are actually capturing, all thanks to a system called MR Maps.
Yeah, David Binks, the developer behind MR Maps, had already revolutionized how rescue teams track their own movements, making sure everyone is accounted for in dangerous terrain. But it was Dan Roach, our skateboarding innovator, who saw the potential to combine MR Maps with drone imagery in a totally new way.
So they weren't looking for a missing person, but rather for something that seemed out of place, something unusual.
Yeah.
It almost sounds counterintuitive.
Most people, when they think about this, they assume you would program drones to search for a specific color, like a bright orange jacket against the backdrop of, the wilderness. But if you think about it, a person lying injured is incredibly difficult to spot from above, even with a drone's eye view. So they decided to flip the script. They trained their software to detect anomalies, those subtle variations in color and texture that might suggest something's not quite right.
So instead of trying to find a needle in a haystack, they reprogrammed the software to find anything that wasn't hay.
Yeah, precisely. And it worked. When an experienced hiker, Charlie Kelly, went missing, it was their software that found him, tragically deceased after weeks of traditional searches had failed. Not only that, the drone located his body within an hour of deployment.
An hour. Think about the families. Think about those families agonizing over every passing day. This technology, it doesn't just save time and it doesn't just save resources. It offers a glimmer of hope and closure in what are incredibly difficult circumstances.
And what's even more remarkable is that this wasn't some, big tech company with a profit motive. Binks, Roach, along with Dan Parsons, a forestry expert and drone enthusiast, they poured their hearts and their expertise into this project purely out of a desire to help others.
That's the heart of mountain rescue, isn't it?
Yeah.
A true testament to their dedication.
Absolutely. What's truly inspiring is that they refused to commercialize this life-saving technology, making it freely available to any search and rescue team to ensure that this tool can make a difference in as many lives as possible.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, our next deep dive takes us from like the vastness of nature to the intricate world of robotics. We often talk about giving robots better sight.
Right.
But what if true vision for a robot isn't about replicating the human eye, but about exploring like a different sense altogether?
It's a fascinating frontier. We're talking about using sound, specifically ultrasound, to create a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world.
Okay.
And the implications go way beyond just robots.
Okay, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit.
Yeah.
For those of us who haven't spent their afternoon geeking out about robotics, remind us, why is sound such a game changer here?
Well, right now, a lot of autonomous systems, whether we're talking self-driving cars or warehouse robots, they rely on LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging.
Okay.
And it's essentially a system that uses lasers to create a 3D map of the environment.
So like a super high-tech version of echolocation.
Exactly. But as amazing as LiDAR is, it has its limitations.
Okay.
It's expensive for one thing, which impacts the cost of everything from those self-driving cars that we talked about to the latest gadgets. It can also be thrown off by bright lights or interference from weather conditions like rain or snow.
So that's where ultrasound steps in, filling in the gaps where LiDAR falls short.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
But it's also about unlocking possibilities that LiDAR simply can't touch.
Okay.
A company called Sonair, based in Norway, is at the forefront of this sonic revolution. They've developed a system that uses ultrasound to do what LiDAR does, but with some serious advantages.
Okay, I have to admit, when I think about ultrasound, I'm picturing those like grainy black and white images from prenatal ultrasounds.
Wow.
How on earth can that kind of technology guide a robot, or even more mind-boggling, end up in my phone?
That's the beauty of innovation. It's about taking something familiar and seeing its potential in a completely new light.
Okay.
In Sonair's case, they're using a technique called beamforming,
Okay,
which involves emitting sound waves in a highly focused beam.
right.
By analyzing how those sound waves bounce back, they can create incredibly detailed 3D maps of the environment.
So it's like sonar, but instead of mapping the ocean floor,
Uh-huh.
we're mapping, well, everything.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about LiDAR being expensive and prone to interference?
Yeah.
Ultrasound sidesteps those issues.
Okay.
It's significantly cheaper to produce, up to 80% less expensive in some cases, which opens up a world of possibilities for making this technology more accessible.
That's huge. Cost is always a barrier to entry, whether we're talking about cutting-edge research or just making everyday tech more affordable.
Exactly. And because ultrasound relies on sound waves rather than light, it's not affected by things like bright sunlight or rain that can throw off LiDAR systems.
So we've got a system that's cheaper, more reliable in challenging conditions,
Yeah,
and I'm guessing just as accurate as LiDAR, if not more so.
you're catching on quickly. But beyond the technical advantages, what's truly captivating is how this could transform the way we interact with the world around us. Imagine a future where your phone can see your hand approaching the screen before you even touch it.
Now, hold on. Are we talking about my phone reading my mind? Because that's a whole other episode.
Not quite mind reading.
Okay.
But we're getting close. Remember haptic feedback, those vibrations or sensations your phone uses to simulate touch?
Right.
Imagine that, but amplified.
Okay.
Your phone could use ultrasound to create a sort of force field around itself, sensing your intentions before you even make contact.
Okay, now that's just cool.
Right.
What would that even look like in practice?
Yeah.
Give me a real-world example.
Imagine you're walking down a busy street, phone in your pocket, and you get a notification.
Right.
Currently, you have to either pull your phone out or fumble for it in your pocket to interact with that notification.
Right.
But with ultrasound, your phone could sense your hand approaching,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps even recognize gestures, allowing you to snooze that message or answer a call without ever breaking your stride.
So we're talking about a future where our interactions with technology become even more seamless, more intuitive.
Precisely. And it's not just about convenience. Think about accessibility.
Okay.
For someone with visual impairments, this kind of spatial awareness could be transformative, allowing them to navigate their surroundings with a new level of confidence.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder what other seemingly mundane things will be using sound to see in the future.
It's amazing.
Maybe one day we'll be navigating subway tunnels with our ears more than our eyes.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? And it speaks to the power of looking beyond the obvious, of challenging our assumptions about what it means to see the world around us.
From the city streets to our back pockets, our next deep dive hits close to home. Like, literally, we're talking about your phone.
Yeah.
And no, not like the latest foldable screen or that camera that's practically a telescope.
Right.
Today, it's about how artificial intelligence is stepping up to protect your phone from a threat that's honestly as old as smartphones themselves. Theft.
It's true. Phone theft isn't just about the inconvenience of losing your device.
Right.
It's about that wealth of personal data we carry around.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Our phones are practically extensions of ourselves these days. They hold our photos, our conversations, our financial information, our memories.
It's like someone rifling through your digital life.
It is.
But here's where it gets interesting. What if your phone could learn to protect itself?
Right.
To recognize the signs of a theft in progress and then take action?
It's not science fiction.
Real.
Google's been hard at work developing AI-powered features that do exactly that. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, totally unaware,
All right.
and suddenly someone tries to snatch your phone.
Okay.
As they're running off with it, your phone, using its internal sensors, senses that something's wrong.
Okay.
It recognizes the specific motions, the sudden change in acceleration,
Yeah.
even the way it's being held,
Right.
and instantly knows that this isn't you casually just pulling it out of your pocket.
Hold on. So is my phone now, judging how I grab it?
Yeah.
What if I'm just a little too enthusiastic about answering a text message?
Don't worry, your phone isn't going to stage an intervention on your tech habits.
Right.
It's about recognizing patterns.
Okay.
The subtle differences between, say, you pulling your phone out of your pocket and someone else trying to make off with it.
Right.
And this is all happening on your device.
Okay.
Using AI that's been trained on just this massive amount of data
Right.
to accurately distinguish between those everyday movements and the telltale signs of theft.
Okay, that's reassuring. But let's say, like, the worst happens. My phone gets snatched.
Right.
It locks itself down.
Yeah.
But what's stopping the thief from just, like, turning it off? It's not like it's going to chase after them, like, screaming for help.
That's where Google's innovation really shines. They've introduced something called offline device lock.
Okay.
Even if the thief tries to turn off your phone,
Right.
cut off the network connection, remove the SIM card,
Yeah.
your data remains inaccessible.
So no more, like, wiping the phone and, like, selling it on the black market?
Well, I mean, not so fast.
Okay.
There are always ways around security measures.
Yeah.
But this significantly raises the bar.
Okay.
And for those times when you might have, left your phone somewhere or you suspect it's been stolen, but you're not really sure, there's also remote lock.
Okay.
You can literally use your phone number to lock it down no matter where it is,
Wow.
as long as it's got a sliver of battery life.
Yeah, that's seriously impressive.
Okay.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room here, the AI itself.
Okay.
We're talking about training an algorithm to recognize incredibly subtle differences in how we interact with our phones.
All right.
Right. That seems like a massive undertaking.
It is. It is a very complex process, no doubt.
Okay.
But the key here is the sheer volume of data used to train these AI models.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about watching a few security camera videos of phone thefts.
Right.
We're talking about analyzing millions, if not billions, of data points.
Wow.
Everything from how the phone's accelerometer responds to different movements
Okay.
to the angle at which it's typically held during different activities.
So it's about recognizing those, like, tiny, almost imperceptible differences in our behavior.
Yeah.
The nuances that make us, well, us.
Exactly. And while no system is foolproof,
Right.
the accuracy rates of these AI-powered theft detection systems are already incredibly high.
Wow.
And they're only going to get better over time as more data is collected and the algorithms are refined.
It's really a powerful example of how AI is becoming more integrated into our everyday lives, often in ways we don't even realize.
It's true.
And it's not just about catching the bad guys.
Right.
Think about the potential for this technology to make our devices more accessible,
Yeah.
more intuitive to use.
Absolutely.
If our phones can learn to recognize our movements with such precision,
It's pretty amazing.
imagine the possibilities.
The future is closer than we think.
It really is.
What we're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of seeing the unseen, what are the key takeaways? We've gone from, drones rescuing lost hikers to robots navigating with sound,
Yeah.
and now phones that can practically protect themselves.
What ties all these stories together is the power of human ingenuity
It's true.
to find new solutions to old problems.
Yeah.
It's about challenging our assumptions, pushing the boundaries of what's possible,
Okay.
and never losing sight of that human impact at the heart of it all.
It's a reminder that technology, at its best, is a tool for good. A
Absolutely.
way to solve problems, improve lives, and create a more equitable and accessible world for everyone.
It makes you wonder what other seemingly impossible problems are just waiting for the right innovation,
It really does.
the right spark of human ingenuity to be solved.
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll leave you to your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.